Hi viewers, and welcome to the channel, and welcome to another Curves Workbench tutorial. Today we're looking at curving surfaces like such using the map a sketch on a surface. And the sketch that I've mapped on the surface here is just across a simple curve like so. And you can see the sketch is sitting here. We're going to be looking at how to use this map a sketch on the surface in two ways. If you ever used this tool before, you'll notice that sometimes you may get a very thin sketch that you can't do anything with. I'm going to show you how to get around that, the two different ways of mapping that face to that surface, and an application that you can use it for. For instance, we have this simple sketch here, and what I've done is created a curved surface from that sketch. We go back and curve this around an extrude. So we just use a simple surface in there to extrude these out of. We could use additional cuts and unions to actually get the shape under here from the part workbench, but we're concentrating on creating curves and the problems that we can get with this tool when we go through the process and how to overcome those. So I hope you're enjoying the series. Let's have a look at this technique. If you like these videos, please subscribe. I also have a Ko-Fi or Coffee donation page and a Patreon where you can get extra content. The links for those pages can be found in the video description. Any kind donations will be reinvested back into the channel and to expand that further in the same subject matter to bring more quality, quantity, and to fund some future projects that I have in mind that I only can do with your kind donations. So we're in FreeCAD. We're going to be using the Curves Workbench. If you haven't got this installed, then go up to Tools, Add-on Manager, and you'll find it in here. If you scroll down, you can see the Curves Workbench is here, and we can just install it from there. I've already got it installed. I know mine needs updating. We're just going to carry on. So the tool we're looking at is over in the Curves Workbench, and it's this one here. We've touched on this before, the map a sketch on a surface. And I've done a video on this before, but I'm going to go a bit more in depth because there's been some updates to it. And also, I'm going to show you a few other applications in there and a different way of attaching a sketch to the surface and some of the other options you got in there. We first need a surface. So I'm going to come into the sketcher and create a B-spline surface that I'm going to extrude. So I'm going to create a sketch, XY plane, that's fine. And I'm just going to place a B-spline along here, like so. Hit escape, and there's my B-spline. Hit escape again. I've got the mouse pointer back, and we're just going to bend this surface a bit more, make it a bit more interesting, something like that, and close it. So that's our surface, well, our B-spline, which we're going to make into a surface. I'm going to bring this around just to check my orientation. So Z is upwards, and I'm going to extrude this upwards. So go into the part, and we're going to extrude that upwards, like so. And we're going to go along the Z axis, and I'm going to do something like 175 or 150, go for 175. So we've got that surface there, and if I wanted to, I can click on it and do another extrude along the Y axis, and we're going to give it a 10mm. Or we can do a 3D offset if we so desire. Those edges are beveled there. If I did a 3D offset along there, let's bring the extrude back, then I wouldn't have those beveled edges, like 10mm, and fill the offset. Okay, so we've got our shape there rather than just a surface. You can do this with surfaces, it will work the same. Just going to come into the offset and hide the extrude, so I've just got the offset that I'm working with. We've got our surface that we're working with, and I'm going to place it front towards me, and I'm going to create a sketch, but I'm not going to attach the sketch to anything. So I'm going to come over to the sketcher, and this is the key, not to attach it first. You can attach it afterwards. And I'm going to create a sketch, and it's going to ask me what plane I want to place it on. If I don't get this, and I've accidentally clicked on this and clicked on the sketch, and it's gone into there. So I don't want that. Let's delete that sketch. The same if I've selected it on this side and hit sketch, it's going to ask me what plane. Now I don't want to use that. Make sure nothing's selected, and click the sketch, and I want to place it along the XZ plane. And I'm going to use, I can use the offset to offset it because I want it in front of there, but I'm just going to create it, come over to the model while I'm still in that sketch, click on the sketch, newly create sketch, come down to placement because it's not attached to anything, so I can move it. Otherwise I would have to edit the attachment, come into the position, and we're looking to move it along the y-axis. So the y-axis is running this way. So let's move that sketch along the y-axis, and we'll increase that. That's going away from us, so I've got to decrease it so it comes towards. I just want it sitting just in front of that. Doesn't matter how far in front because we're in the right perspective mode. That's absolutely fine. Let's close that. So, actually didn't mean to close it. Let's go back in. So we've got the sketch there. You can see that's in front of it. And I'm going to draw something on this surface. Now the first thing I need is a box around here, and this will sit something like this, and that will determine what will be mapped on that surface. To do that, I'm going to come over to my toolbar, and there's this little tool here which is toggles the toolbar or selected geometry to from construction mode. Also available on sketch geometries, and over to the toggle construction geometry. You can see these are turned blue, and I want the blue rectangle there. Just going to position myself to front, and I'm going to draw a rectangle that will be used to contain the sketch. That is construction geometry, that's what's needed, and that's what's going to be placed or mapped along there. So that's our first piece of geometry that we place in there. We just click the toggle construction mode toolbar again, and it's just place these into normal geometry mode now. And we can sketch on here. So I could add some circles or even a B-spline or whatever we want to actually sketch on here. So I'm just going to use the B-spline. Doesn't have to be one single geometry, it can be a number of geometries. So I'm going to place that kind of kidney shape there and a few circles. So just to show how this works really, like so, and then we'll get into some applications in a minute. If I close that, that's not on that surface there. You can see that it's sitting in front of it because that sketch is not attached. If it was attached, it will lay along here, but it wouldn't conform to the surface. We're going to come over to the Curves Workbench. What we need to do is attach this sketch to this surface first. So click on the sketch. See the map mode, it should be deactivated. That's what we want. Click on there. And the selecting is showing there, the selecting button. Just click the face that we want it attached to. It will move, as you can see, but that's fine. Just hit OK. And now we can select the sketch, control click the face, and use the tool. And I'll place that sketch there. You saw the sketch actually flipped around, but now it's placed around the right way onto that surface. So that's sitting there like that. So that's how to get that sketch on the surface. There is other ways of getting that sketch on the surface. For instance, if I remove this sketch on surface and come in and click this surface and click the tool, what will happen, you'll get sketch on surface that's attached to that surface. As you can see, map sketch there. And we come into here and we've got a mapped sketch that sits there. And its support is offset face 6, which is this one here. We've just gone through a different way of attaching that to the surface. That's a blank sketch now, but you can see straight away that we've got some problems how that's been attached. That sketch, we can't get a sketch in here. And sometimes this will work and sometimes it won't. For instance, if I close that and tried it on something like a part cylinder, that's a really small cylinder. Let's bring this up some way 100 and radius of, let's go for 100 as well. So we've got a cylinder here. I'm just going to hide this one, and I can click on here, bring this down. Let's first go over to the Curves Workbench, click on here, and then do the map of sketch on the surface. And you'll notice if I come in, we can see we've got the construction geometry here, we've got a width and height, and we can add geometry in here. Hit close, and that maps to that surface. But on the other one, we couldn't. That other one we had, so let's get rid of those, highlighting them with a shift and clicking them, and delete those. With this one, we hit a problem. So that offset, that map sketch, we can't get anything in here, so we have to go through another method, and that's actually create that sketch first on here by coming into the sketcher, making sure nothing's selected, create the sketch, looking at a plane, which is the ZX or XZ, and then making sure we come into the sketch that we've created. What sketch is this? This is not this one, it's this one. And no, it's not that one, it's the last one we did. That's it. I got a bit confused what sketch that was then. The placement, position, and we're looking along the Y. And you can see straight away that minute we do this and start, first of all come into here and add our construction geometry. There's one here, click front and make sure that's in there. The minute we add, turn that back, sketch this, close, then we can attach that sketch to that face. Map mode deactivated, click on that, click on the face, offset face 6, okay that. So now that sketch map mode is on there. Although it's run the wrong way, the minute we go back to the Curves Workbench and then click that offset face, control click the sketch and map it, you can see that's mapped to there. And we double click that sketch and you can see we've got a better mapping via that technique. So there's two techniques of actually getting that sketch on that surface. One is by creating the sketch first, putting construction geometry around it, and then mapping it that way. The other one is to actually create the sketch on surface first and then double clicking the actual created sketch. If one way fails, then you go to the other method. So there's two methods there. One will allow you to do that. Going back to our sketch on surface now, we've got a number of options. So we've got a field extrusion, which is just basically this extrusion here. This is extruded out, and we can set the thickness. Hit Control R, and that shows you how that's extruded out from there. It conforms to the surface, so this is more or less a loft. If you take these two edges here and loft through them, you've basically lofted along those edges in that manner. So if I bring this thickness to up to 120, you can see that it starts to deform because we've gone beyond the actual angles. So you have to be quite careful with how far you're actually coming out, because those angles, if we're going this angle here, they will start to intersect. So let's just set this to 50. There we go. So you can see this angle comes out, and at some point it's going to intersect with these angles coming out. So just be wary of that. So that's an extrusion there. We've got the fill face at the moment as false. Set this to true. And that makes that solid along there. A closed shape. We can click on our offset and just press the space bar if we want to get rid of it and just deal with this shape. For so desire, we can use the booleans cut and union if we so desire. So we'll bring that offset back. That's actually placed that on that surface and extruded that outwards. We've got this offset here as well, which if I set this to 10, this will push it out from the face. Come in, you can see there's a gap there now. And set it a bit more, something like 50. There we go, so that's coming out further there. You have to be careful because you can see that straight away we've got the offset, we've got some issues with the angles again, so watch the angles when this comes out. If you follow them outwards, obviously when it's going to get to here, it's the projection of these angles, and we're going to have some issues depending on the shape and the curvature. We've also got the minus values, so we can have that intersecting that shape. You can see it's coming out the other side. Go a bit further, minus 20. And obviously with the part coming here, we can do boolean operations, so the one I want to keep, the one I want to remove, and we can do the cuts and the unions, etc. on there. I'm just going to Control Z that. So we looked at the extrude options in here and the offset options. There are other options on sketch on surface. We've got this extra objects, so if we're moving down, we've got this extra objects here. I haven't yet found a real use, and it's a bit touch and go what objects you can place on here. For instance, if I placed a part and a cube on here and actually give this some size, let's say 100 by 100 and 100, and transform this into place. And there's 1,000 there, that should be 100. And there we go. Then we can use that in the sketch on surface in the extra objects. We can click on that and choose the cube and hit OK. And then we get more parts of that cube on there. So I'm not 100% sure how this should work. Still got to do a bit more digging or how it can be useful. If you know how that could be useful or how that should work, please leave comments. It'd be great. A bit stumped with that one. So I'm going to get rid of that actually and make sure that's removed from the extra objects. We have further down, we've got the construction bounds. This keeps it within that construction bounds, but if I set this to false, what will happen? It will push it right to that edge of the original object that's sitting there. So that pushes it right up. If I come into the original sketch that I offset this from, extrude this sketch here, and you can see that there. If we push this way and change this slightly, close that, you can see how that's conformed to that. And just get rid of the offset there. And that's stretched itself across that object. Let's bring that back. If we come down, let's just change that back to what it was before, true. And if we come down, we've got the reverse U there and the reverse V, so we can play with those. You can see those make an effect on there. You can move those about and play with them. With this shape, you can see it's actually flipping. Let's put it on the side and come down, reverse U, set that to true. You can see how that flipped there, so it's the actual UV mapping on there. Set these both to false. There we go, and we've got the swap UV as well, true. So that swaps it to place it along this direction rather than this. So there's the options there. Applications. I've used this obviously for creating if you looked at my original video, I created a ring there and I pulled in a Gaelic pattern, some Gaelic knotwork, and placed that around the ring. The other thing that I've used this for, let's just get rid of that sketch, that surface, and start, not from the beginning, but just from here. The other one that I've used this for is I've come into the sketcher, sure nothing's selected, create a sketch, and we're looking along the ZX plane there, XZ, okay that. Now let's just move that slightly, same as before. And what I'm going to do is make like a scale or a skin pattern or a hexagon mesh pattern there. And we need to set the placement on here, don't we? So we're looking along the Y axis. So look, yeah, the Y axis. And bring that forward. So there we go. And come back to the sketch, come back to tasks. So for instance, I've come in here and created a sketch in here. Let's create a simple one. Number of circles, like so. And crisscrossed. Like that. And a few more. And we're going to use the construction mode to place some construction geometry so we know the bounds, like so. Close that. So we've got that there. Then we can use that sketch and use the map mode and select that face. Okay, that. Come back to the Curves Workbench. And now we don't have to worry about how this is orientated because that will sort itself out in a minute. Click the surface, control click the sketch, and use the curves on surface there. And that's added that to that surface. Just press the spacebar by S and bear with me. That's added that to that surface, like so. There's that sketch there. And we can use that sketch on surface. Fill face is false, that's fine. I'm going to leave that as false. Offset thickness, bring the thickness out, like so. And we've got this nice, interesting pattern. So we can see if we're doing something like with architecture or something, we could use that, or some wire work, some railing work they want to use that for. Just using the surface underneath, the face underneath. Don't even need a extrude on there. We could just use, sorry, don't even need an offset on there. We could just use the face to guide that around. For instance, let's take all these out, hit delete, and let's go back to the part workbench and create a sphere. And bring this sphere up, it's 5mm, set it to 100mm. There we go, zoom out a bit. And I'm just going to place it so this line here is like so. And I'm going to just click on it and put a section view. Sorry, not a selection view, a cross section through that, like so. And change that to go along there. Hit OK. We've got that now. And I'm going to click on the sphere, control click the sphere CS, that section. Got to part, split apart. If you want the cross section, it's also available from the part cross sections there. So split, slice apart. Two faces there now. So if I wanted to actually completely slice it apart and use it as a dome, I can, but I'm just going to use this top face for the actual sketch. Use that as a guide. So come into Sketcher. You can do a full slice apart, so you have two parts if you so desire. I just wanted two faces. Come back to the Sketcher, get yourself positioned. So I'm going to click on rear, and we're going to zoom in a bit and create a sketch. along the ZXXZ plane, XZ plane, okay. And we come into, well, I could move that if I so desire, or could use the section view. It's going to be the same anyway. We're already on construction geometry. If you're not, we can click this button here. Let's put some construction geometry in here. So I'm just going to use a square. We always need the construction geometry. Turn it back out of construction mode, and let's place some hexagons in here. Like so, instead of circles this time. You can be more neater if you so desire. I'm just doing this quickly. So close that. So we've got the hexagons there. Let's bring this around. It's going through the center there. That doesn't matter, because what we're going to do is come over to the Curves Workbench and click that sketch. And at the moment it's deactivated, so we can click on the end, selecting, click that. So we've attached it to that face. Okay, so the face is attached. It's attached. We see the support there. So now we can click the face, control click sketch, map to face, and that's mapped that to that face there. You can see it's there, and we can hide that, and we can do whatever we want with this. So click on that sketch on surface and do the extrusion is true, thickness. Let's bring this up to 5. It's made that thick there, so we've got some thickness going along there, and we can play with that if we so desire. I mean, we can fill the faces if we want to, like so. So we can almost like a cracked egged type display there. And we've got the individual faces in here as well, which we can, in the Curves Workbench, we can even extract that subshape if we so desire. That subshape there, bring back the original, go to the part, and we could extrude that subshape if we so desire along the Z plane, and we can play with this. First we need to select something, and that was that surface there. Okay, and that's extruded it along the wrong plane, so that's coming to the extrude direction, 0 that, and let's try Y. There we go, extruded it along the Y. So we've got ways of playing with this if we so desire. So there we have a quick and simple surface there that we created. Obviously we could edit this over in the part if we want to chop this up or do whatever we want with it. But you can see if we had this as hexagons, how we could actually create surfaces from sketches that conform to a curve or some kind of shaped surface. Hope that's of use, and I'll see you again soon. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to the site. I also have a Ko-Fi or a coffee site that you can donate to if you so desire, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. I also run a Patreon where you can subscribe and get extra content, and that's at www.patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Any money that's kindly donated will be used to expand the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you again soon.